Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Baka podcast.
Baka.
It's amazing how every time you open your mouth, you prove you're an idiot.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a mini-sode of Baka. We are usually an anime podcast. That means we usually watch an anime. We come together on this podcast, and we usually talk about it. Usually means 50%, right? Because the other half of the time, we do what's called a mini-sode. This is where we talk about random topics, usually anime-related, and discuss, try to expand our horizons and the views of our audience. And really, we just want you to remember that we exist until we get to the next anime episode. Hi. To discuss these topics, let me introduce my co-host. First off, we have the smile to my Mona Lisa, Jeremy. How you doing this week?
I'm doing pretty good. That's a really weird one. Like, I don't even remember her having a smile when I was in school.
Okay. That's the weird thing, but
I know I'm not the only one. I know this is a Mandela thing where lots of people are like, "Oh, Mona Lisa didn't have a smile." It's really weird.
It's like the thing it's famous for.
I know. They always talk about like Mona Lisa, and there's even a song from Nat King Cole about it. But yeah, I don't.
On that movie Shazam with Sinbad.
Is that Sinbad?
No, it's
yeah, that's another Mandela effect.
That is a Mandela effect.
Yes, I remember that one too. Yeah, I mean, I don't remember that one. I remember seeing the Mandela effect for that one. Yes.
That one has me. I don't think it was Shazam. I swear there was a movie with Sinbad as a genie, but he's even pointed out, no, there wasn't. And I'm like, well, I guess he would know.
Berenstein Bears. That's another one that gets me. But anyways, this isn't really about that, is it?
Wait, what's about? Well, Berenstein Bears is
not worth it.
It's the spelling Berenstein versus Berenstein and like Berenstain, and they changed it, and they're telling us they changed it.
Aliens that changed the timeline in the space-time continuum.
Yes, they duplicated our reality
from other dimensions.
Yes, that's why the pyramids point to the important constellations.
Okay, our other not as crazy host, the gaping mouth to my scream. Jason.
Oh. No, this is like not Scream, the horror movie, but it's what's the other one that's the funny one, the parody?
No, it's the painting. The Scream.
Oh, the Scream. God, I hate that painting.
You know?
Me too. Jason, how are you?
Thank you for pointing out you hate something that you discussed with me. I've been deep in, like, I'm almost to episode 40 of Brotherhood, my Full Metal Alchemist.
Have they gone north yet? Up to the snow?
What's that?
Have they gone north yet?
Yeah, so I just want to say the Armstrong family is not only known for their alchemy. Holy crap. She is ruthless, and I love it. Yeah, actually, that character is probably one of the better characters I've seen in anime to date. Like, she takes the feminine hero role and just makes it her own. It is just fantastic writing.
Sir, when you get to the finale, like the moment you get done, you have to let me know. I have to know what you think of the finale. I'm so excited for you to get there.
It's everything. I love how everything from the first one, the Full Metal Alchemist, they just was like, okay, we know you know this, but we've got other story to tell. So they kind of blew it, like they blew open the doors on that like real fast. We're like, okay, we're gonna get this out of the way. We got some cool stuff we got to talk about, and I love the new cool stuff. I'm just gonna say it that way.
Okay. And my name is Troy. I've watched some old movies again, like I do. Raiders of the Lost Ark. What a credit list, man. If you could be sexually attracted to an opening credit scene, Raiders of the Lost Ark, it's gotta be as close as I can get.
Can I get your opinion on something? Because I know you're a Fast and Furious fan.
Yeah, absolutely.
Shaw and Hobbs. Is it going to be just as fantastic as those trailers make it out to be?
Yes. Although, yes, why not? I mean, at this point, why not? Tell me any movie series that has evolved more than Fast and Furious. We went from robbing DVDs to street racing in Tokyo as a high school sports movie, and now we're just straight up fighting superhumans who are superhuman.
I mean, I'm just waiting for the moment where they jump a freaking car from one spaceship to another next to the sun in deep space. I mean,
and when they do that, I will be there and I will cheer.
But like this, I watched that trailer and all it spoke to me was story. We don't have a story. We have Awesome to get to.
We have Awesome to get to. You know what? It wears its on its sleeve. It's not trying to trick you into like, hey, there's a drama in here. Like it's like, hey, we're just going to be awesome for 2 hours. If that's your thing, come join us. And I'm cool with that. I've never
been pulled in so hard by a Fast and Furious trailer than the Shaw and Hobbs. Like this trailer looks amazing. And I don't even know the story between those two. I know there's been contention. Like they're never been on the same side or anything like that.
We'll talk later. Okay. So our mini-sode topic tonight is we're going to discuss art in anime, not specifically characters or story, but just the way things are drawn. And not specifically animation, even though I'm sure that might be factored into it, but just pretty pictures and what we think of them. Something I don't think we could have done when we started this podcast. I think having the experience of this podcast makes us still very unqualified, but at least like one step closer to being qualified. And so we're going to go ahead and bust this open now.
The thimbles worth of ocean water has been removed.
So we're just going to discuss in general animes that we love and bad as well. You guys want to start with the good or the bad?
Might as well start with the good. The first thing that always comes to mind when I think of just beautiful pictures in anime is probably Made in Abyss. The scenery of that anime is just fantastic. The creatures, even though fantastical, are very believable for the particular setting that they're in. The characters are drawn well. Even some of the gorier parts, like even that was well done. And I kind of put that as a bar as far as what I see really good production value, kind of like with Violet Evergarden. Like those particular, like in Violet Evergarden is more towards the animation style of beautiful than it is the actual art itself, but even the art was well done, I think.
Some of the character designs, like Violet herself, were just really, really well done too. Just the balance of it.
Made in Abyss for me, I have it on my list too. For all the anime we've seen on this podcast, is probably my favorite art wise. Mm-hmm. And one things I love about it is that it's got its own unique style. Like you don't look at it and think it's another anime, and that's a huge bonus for me. But yeah, it took its style and it nailed it, and it doesn't waver. It doesn't lack in detail when it needs to, but it also it can work with fast action. I agree with that. It is a bar, and for everything that we have watched over however long we've been doing this, 74 anime. That's not right because we do some doubles, but 74 episodes. Yeah, it's just fantastic.
Yeah, one of the ones that obviously always comes to everybody's mind whenever they think of good art is Studio Ghibli art. But another one that really caught my eye was the Ancient Magus Bride. When we watched that, a lot of the scenes in it were just really good wallpaper art, like fantasy environment, fantasy moment being captured. Really, really, really pretty, colorful, energetic. Yeah, really carried the fantasy vibe very, very well.
And then in a different vein, as far as good art, I know you mentioned Madoka, so I'll let you expand upon that a bit more. Yami Shibai, which is like a bunch of short ghost stories. Like there's no real animation. It's a lot of paper art, kind of dull.
Sounds like Mononoke
animation, and it's just it lends so well to what's being told as far as the experience of the ghost story itself, because it's just odd enough and just unsettling enough to look at that it even though it's not pretty, it lends so well to the story that's being told that it's creepy.
Yeah. Yep.
One I think does. I mean, it doesn't get enough credit in this circle of people, and it's probably because I'm the one who's seen the whole thing. It's Cowboy Bebop, and I mean, there's obviously people who know how beautiful it is, but their animation, their art is so detailed that you can tell exactly what guns models the characters use, but also how they're chambered. So you can tell that Spike Spiegel uses a Jericho 944 pistol and it's chambered for 9mm. That's how detailed they draw in that series. And again, just like Made in Abyss, with the action, it's not just flying fists punching really fast. Like every move is planned out and the body reacts the way it's supposed to. Highly detailed and so beautiful. A lot of the shots in space. There's so many beautiful shots in Cowboy Bebop that, as much as I love the stories and the characters and they get remembered, man, the art in Cowboy Bebop, I always think about.
I'll have to say I've never seen the whole series, but I did come across the fight scene with the broom in the hallway with that agent. I assume she's an agent.
Yeah, and that's the movie. So to be fair, extra production going into that because it was the movie.
Okay, fair enough, but I mean I've seen other fight scenes from that anime and it looks very similar. But yeah, talk about a gorgeous fight choreograph. Like it you can just feel every moment watching that particular fight scene.
The final fight in that movie where they're up on like the radio tower and just duking it out, two guys just beating the crap out of each other, is so beautiful. The whole thing is just nuts to watch.
That's cool. Another one that really caught my eye, and we haven't actually watched it on the podcast, but I did watch it on my own, and that's No Game, No Life. Because the just how colorful and vivid everything is in it. It's really gorgeous in its own way. I don't think that anything is spectacularly detailed, but just the color choice and the design choice really harmonizes nicely. That one always stuck in my head ever since I watched it. I think Land of the Lustrous probably fits in the same category.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. That idea of just having really vibrant art, really vibrant colors, but maybe the detail isn't just insanely high.
I have no reason for this, but when it's CGI, I have a hard time appreciating it as much. Not that like CGI artists or lesser artists or anything. That's not fair. That's completely on me. But yeah, like Land of the Lustrous is obviously beautiful, but when I see it, like I don't think of it as beautiful because it's computer rendered, and that's a weird thing.
It's funny because I think of anime like Ajin and the space one from
Knights of Sidonia.
Yeah, Knights of Sidonia. There's quite a few landscape shots from Knights of Sidonia inside the spaceship, and I can't say I've appreciated any of them as like art, but Land of the Lustrous, I remember plenty of times seeing the landscape or seeing the way a particular scene was drawn, or animated, that I would appreciate as like very artistic. Of course, that's depending on your definition of art.
Yeah. You knew we'd go there.
That was weird, right?
I do think that it probably has a lot to do with shaders when it comes to doing the CG art. If they can get the right shaders, you could get something like Land of the Lustrous that's just beautiful.
But then on the other side of the spectrum, we have like, Spec Ops Magical Girl.
So we're in the bad category now.
I hated every scene.
Agreed. Yes.
The animation was just not good, but like the art of it was so generically bland that it hurt the already bad story. So
yeah, I was talking to Troy about this during the break, and it's something that I don't think would have bothered me earlier, like maybe a year ago. But the more anime that I watch, the higher my expectations seem to go. And maybe that's just a natural thing about, you have more to test it against. And it's just seeing the battle, the choreography that they chose to do for something like, Magical Girl Spec Ops Asuka. They just kind of didn't. They would just kind of draw a person flying through the air with lots of colors and stuff and then say, yeah, the action happened. It's like, there was a time that I would have been totally fine with that. And I'm not anymore. And I actually wind up putting that in the bad category.
Wait till you watch One Punch Man season 2 and you'll be thinking about the fight scenes in season 1 and you'll be like, why is that character so static? He's in the middle of a fight. He's not moving. It's weird.
It's kind of like, Genos and Saitama's sparring episode.
So much movement, and that is not the case anymore.
It's too bad.
Man, it's just so beautiful. Like watching it. I keep going back like every week.
I have a bone to pick with an anime, a very popular anime whose art style I was iffy on in the beginning,
I know what you're talking about.
And now it actually changed its art style, and I hate it now. I think the character designs are garbage looking. It's One Piece. I can't stand the art of One Piece now, especially now. In the beginning, I was like, this looks a little plain, and I'm not really into it. And like Luffy's a really cool character, but like when his new like powered up forms and stuff, I think he looks ugly as he's all Frankenstein-y, thick head, and I'm like, and then the girls got like super chesty for no reason. They were already well developed, and now they're like extra chesty. I'm like, I don't like any change you made in the art style. I'm not into this. And it's one of the things that keep that in the volume of how big it is. One Piece keeps me away. And there are a lot of people who love One Piece, so send all hate to Jason.
I was just about to ask, if you're not at least 400 episodes in on both manga and anime, do you have a right to have an opinion at all?
I guess not. I mean,
get out.
I watch anime battles on YouTube, and every time a One Piece one comes up and I start watching, I'm like, he's kind of gross looking, and it's really unappealing to my eye. And I'm not the kind of person who thinks about that kind of stuff usually. And One Piece always strikes me as ick.
Yeah, I've never actually been able to stand One Piece to watch an episode. I just can't bring myself to stomach the art.
Okay, I need your guys' opinion. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. How do we feel about the art style?
It's kind of weird to me. I think it's like just into the okay. Like, you almost need another category. Like, it's not bad because it's like they're going with the 80s thing, but it's not great either. It reminds me of Fist of the North Star.
It does. I mean, they're going for that 80s vibe. I like what they're going for. I wouldn't say it's especially appealing to my eye. Like, I don't look at it and think that's good art, but I also don't really have much of an issue with it.
Because there seems like there's a lot of production value that goes into every frame. Like, because they all look extremely detailed, but I've never thought it looked good. It's like, you have a ton of detail. I just don't think it's all that great.
Yeah.
I have a series I really like the art style that I don't watch. The Monogatari series.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the most beautiful animes ever drawn. And I actually really like the dialogue too, but the story itself, and I couldn't get it. We've talked about it before. I just can't get into the story.
Camera
But-
work fantastic as well.
Yeah, it is one of the best looking anime I've ever seen. But I don't watch it. But like whenever I watch a lot of anime music videos, and whenever it shows up, I'm like, man, that is pretty. I probably won't watch it, but I wish I would.
Yeah, I think for me the reason is because the best scenes that they put in those AMVs are like such a small percentage of the show. Like, yes, the art is beautiful, but the action and the interesting art is a very small percentage of the overall.
Well, there's almost like an art, like actual art for the background and the way they frame shots and stuff, and I think that has a lot to do with it.
I think it kind of lost me when, because her name is Sword Underheart, and I thought it was like some, like, there was meaning behind it, or like, in an ancient time where she's from, maybe it was a crest of some kind. No, there's actually a sword in her body under her heart.
Oh, it's literal. Okay.
Yeah, she pulls one out, and it's like, okay,
Yeah, that makes sense.
okay, come on.
Another one that I'm not real fond of. I know that this is all very subjective. Just everything we're talking about as to what's good or bad here is very subjective. But I have to put Lupin the Third in there.
Oh,
I don't like Lupin the Third's art either.
what about the Miyazaki one? Castle of Cagliostro.
I don't know if I've seen it.
It's a Lupin the Third movie, but it was like one of Miyazaki's first films, and it's Lupin the Third in Miyazaki style, but very still the same character design. That's interesting.
Check it out.
But he's that's an old. That's like I'm not really I'm not really into Astro Boy's art.
Yeah.
But I don't really hold that against him. He was the OG,
The weird thing is that like I enjoy Outlaw Star, even though Outlaw Star, like, I don't know, I'm kind of torn on Outlaw Star's art, because sometimes I love its art. You guys have seen enough about it on the podcast, right? Mm-hmm. And other times it has, like, there's just some really bad shots sometimes where you...
Yeah, but we're talking, like, what, 80s, 90s?
Yeah. The golden age, right?
The golden
I want to throw out Konosuba as a like, only for their faces. Every time they've been one of a lot of the ads I was watching on Crunchyroll is for the English dub of Konosuba has come out, so there's been a lot of Konosuba ads, and every time there's just like a shot of a face in a silly situation, they distort it so much, and it's so cool looking. I love what they do to faces in Konosuba.
So I guess this takes us to the strange now. Do you guys pick some strange?
Strange.
See, I originally thought it'd be good, bad, and ugly, but ugly has, I mean, it's obviously such a negative connotation, and I actually really like some of these ones that their art is just very unusual. I would put Madoka Magica in this category, where the art is just very uncharacteristic to what I would expect from regular anime. What's that?
It's unsettling, which I love.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
The witch sequences I would put in the strange 100%.
Yeah. Well, even the strange choice of using, like, it almost looks like they're using colored pencils to do the entire anime, and that's just, I don't see that anywhere.
Cabanari of the Iron Fortress, I thought would definitely be in the strange category, specifically with their CGI stuff, because it didn't feel, it didn't have that fakey, like, out of place feel when I watched the CGI. It was more of a decently unsettling CGI that felt menacing until we learned more about the story, and then it lost all its teeth. But
took a big dump in the middle of the room.
Right. But yeah, I actually the rest of the anime was pretty average, but when it came to the zombies and the actual train scenes, I thought it did a decent job in the strange category.
I'd probably put Full Metal Alchemist in strange, even though it's definitely got its beautiful shot. So I'm not taking away the way they use it for comedy, the way anytime there's a comedic moment, the characters like shrink into almost chibi versions of themselves so often.
Extra violence.
That always struck me as strange in both series when I saw it.
Very interesting. So instead of like having little chibi characters pop up over them, which is often used, they actually turned them into the chibi characters.
Yeah, Full Metal Alchemist has no problem going like full cartoon in funny sections, like
even in like dangerous or serious situations, like all of a sudden someone will call him short or something like that.
And that's a manga. That's from the manga. So the I think Brotherhood does it even more than the original anime, and it's definitely the original artist's choice. That's how he wanted it done. So it always struck me as strange. It didn't diminish my enjoyment of it. So also
very interesting.
Also, I would put Knights of Sidonia, Blame, Ajin, and Strange because that's their CG style. It's not pretty, but it's not ugly either. And it always strikes me as like everything just looks scratched. Everything just looks super scratched in everything those guys make, and it all looks the same.
It's like they got caught in huh?
That's its own category,
right?
Yeah. I actually found when I was doing a little bit of research into different styles of art just to see if I was treading onto something that already exists as a concept, and what I found was that there's different categories of almost dimensions of face and dimensions of body. And I'm sure you could say that like CGI itself is a category. I think I would classify the CGI as, at least Knights of Sidonia and Ajin and some of the others that you've mentioned, as maybe the uncanny valley of anime, where it's like it's not quite anime.
That's such a great way to describe that.
Yeah, that's what it comes across as to me. I would also say that like Mononoke, which I don't think you guys have seen, but it's very much like what Jason you were describing, where it's like pop-ups of individual characters that just kind of shuffle around sometimes, and other times they will move and they will change. But it comes across very strange. It's like a far more severe version of what we saw with the skull-headed bookkeeper, in the last episode. I would put both of those also in this very unusual category where it doesn't come across like a regular anime. It changes the flavor so much. It's like you're looking at a book or you're looking at a comic strip rather than a manga. The last one that I had for Strange was Tekkon Kincrete, and I don't think you guys have seen it. I've mentioned it in the past. It is, I think it's Korean, maybe, or Chinese. I don't know. I should have checked.
It sounds familiar.
Yeah, it is very unusual art. The detail is just mind-boggling. It's very good with what it does with detail, but its choice of how to draw the characters is very unusual, and for me at least, extremely unsettling. And for that reason, it almost gives you this sense that the world that they're in is, I don't know. To me, it just seems gross. The world is gross. like you're looking in a dumpster, or some other kind of really dirty trash bin or something. It's just really gross.
Honorable mention that I don't always slips my mind is definitely Mushishi.
Pretty wise, yeah.
It kind of falls into pretty and strange in some areas. It's really interesting how in some moments it's nearly grotesque, but then in other moments it's some of the most beautiful anime I've seen in some time.
It's true.
Okay.
How much do you guys think it matters? I mean, as far as in your own personal evaluation of whether you'll enjoy an anime or not, how much does the art make a difference?
It alone can't ruin it or make it, but it definitely is a contributing factor to both.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
It can turn me off of an anime, absolutely. If it's just something that my eyes are not going to let me watch. But I tend to categorize when I watch anime. Like if it's like full CGI, I won't then go and compare it to, Full Metal
Studio
Alchemist.
Ghibli or something. Yeah.
Right. Because, and when they do the CGI with the 2D paint on, I think that's really cool. But again, I'm not going to compare that with Ajin, right? Because Ajin's clearly its own class. But then when I watch Devil is a Part-Timer, that's its own other animation class, right? And also, like, when I think of Studio Ghibli or other, traditional anime drawing type.
Akira. Princess. No, if you want that's
I think of when someone mentions anime, but obviously it's grown in its spectrum.
What about you, Jeremy?
I think that it has to be really bad for it to turn me off. I think my threshold's really high. Even now. Yeah. As long as the story is good and the characters are interesting and it's at least entertaining in its presentation, I can usually. But when it's really bad, like I would classify One Piece as that for me. Like it's just.
See, I watched the first couple arcs of One Piece, and the story was enough that I was like, okay, it's a little weird. Oolong's face is not really fun to look at, but whatever. It was good enough a story, and then the story is too long for me to keep up with, and then they changed the art style, and I'm like, okay, but I'm just out. That's too much for me.
You know what's really weird about that is if I turn to, like, let's say the 90s Nickelodeon style cartoons that started coming out where you had major abstraction of the characters. Like, for some reason, I was completely fine with all the different directions that they go with that. And I mean, yeah, of course you're younger, but I mean, even now, like, there's a lot of those that I didn't see. And if I pick them up and I look at them and I watch an episode or two, I'm like, yeah, that's fine. I get it. That character is entertaining. And it's strange to me that the art doesn't matter at all because it's crap art most of the time on those naughty cartoons. But naughties, I should say, not naughty. I wasn't watching naughty cartoons.
Yes, you were. You're not going to tell us about it.
That's right, on the podcast.
Okay.
But yeah, in anime, it seems to matter a little bit more. It's strange.
True. All right, I think we have talked about art way more than we deserve. So I think we'll wrap it up there. If you have thoughts and opinions on why One Piece is great, you can reach us on our Twitter at Baka Podcast or email the anime Baka Club at gmail.com or leave a comment wherever you found this podcast and we'll get back to you. You could also talk about art, but I know what you really want to yell at me about. So feel free.
We crash our servers.
Yeah. With that, let's say goodbye. Oh, we are also watching Dororo episodes 1 through 12. And now let's say goodbye.
Nice save. Thanks for listening.
See you next time.
Sayonara.